They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
I'm a conservative in America, and I'm watching CNN, just for the straight middle of the road. That's what I hear for 15 minutes, is it's great, and then Lonely Scott. It does look, I mean, and when you see the path, it does look like tokenism. It's kind of like the same as The View. It's like it's almost better to have nobody there, like MS.
Bill Maher recently took aim at CNN's Caitlin Collins, and let's just say it didn't end well for her. During her appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher, Caitlin made a few missteps that seemed to ignite Bill's notorious, no-holds-barred humor. It wasn't long before he unleashed a savage takedown that left people buzzing across the country, especially within the woke community. So, what happened to send Maher into full wrecking ball mode? Well, Caitlin's responses seemed all over the place, scattered and lacking depth. It was clear that her arguments weren't landing, and she struggled to keep up with Bill's sharp wit. The conversation quickly became awkward, with moments that made viewers cringe and wonder if she understood what kind of show she was on. It wasn't just a difficult moment for Caitlin, but also for anyone watching who values coherent conversation. Maher, known for his disdain of political correctness and woke culture, wasn't about to let her slide. And the result was an unforgettable verbal clash. The entire exchange left people talking, with some questioning if Caitlin was out of her depth from the start. What followed? A full-on cringeworthy disaster that you'll have to see to believe.
I watched Kamala's speech last night. It ended at 8:09, I guess 11:09 in the East. It wasn't until 11:23 till the one conservative guy, what's his name?
Scott Jennings.
This Lonely Scott, I call him.
David Urban was there too.
Wait a second. I watched from 8:09 to 8:23, they were just gushing about how great a speech it was. And I think she did fine. I didn't think it was as good as they were making it out.
Things took a turn when Caitlin Collins started praising Kamala Harris's speech like it was a masterpiece, comparing it to Churchill-level rhetoric. Her comments seemed to echo the same overly positive tone you'd expect from CNN's usual bias. Bill Maher, never one to shy away from the truth, immediately called out the hypocrisy. He pointed out that CNN's supposed neutrality was laughable, given their clear left-leaning stance. Maher didn't let Caitlin get away with pretending the network was impartial, especially when their version of balance would make even Biden seem like a moderate.
I'm a big rooter for CNN, but that tells you a lot, doesn't it? I mean, how do you guys think you are doing in that arena of like, this is a terribly divided country. We're not only politicized, a lot of people just hate the other side. And CNN, in my view, should be the place where both sides can watch. How do you think you're doing?
Bill Maher, ever the considerate host, gives Caitlin Collins the opportunity to defend CNN's claim of impartiality, offering her a chance to explain herself before diving into tougher questions. He's not one to attack first, but instead lets his guests make their case, showcasing why people admire him. Maher's approach is like that of a lion, gracious at first, but ready to pounce with sharp wit when the time is right. And when Caitlin responds, it's clear she's in for a tough ride.
It is the place where both sides can watch. And I think, my show is evidence of that. We have lawmakers on from both parties. We'll have Elizabeth Warren on one night. We'll have Ted Cruz on another night. I think lawmakers from both parties should take questions, and you should push both.
Caitlin Collins, brimming with the kind of confidence that only comes from fully buying into CNN's narrative, confidently claimed that the network is totally impartial and fair to both sides of the political spectrum. She even dropped names like Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren, suggesting that having them on the show somehow proves CNN's unbiased nature. "We've had them both on," she insisted, as though that's the golden ticket to journalistic fairness. But anyone who spent more than 5 minutes watching CNN knows this is pure spin. Her argument sounded as hollow as a politician's empty promise. Maher, looking at her with his signature mix of disbelief and amusement, was having none of it. He gave her that familiar bless your heart look, fully prepared to burst her bubble. He knew it wouldn't take long to expose the absurdity of her claims and unravel the fantasy that CNN somehow embodies neutrality. With his razor-sharp wit and love for calling out delusions, it was clear Caitlyn's rosy picture of CNN was about to be shattered, and Maher was ready to deliver the dose of reality.
I'm a conservative in America, and I'm watching CNN just for the straight middle of the road. That's what I hear for 15 minutes. It's great, and then Lonely Scott. It does look, and when you see the path, it does look like tokenism. It's kind of like the same as The View. It's like it's almost better to have nobody there, like MSNBC, than to have just the...
Bill Maher swiftly dismantled Caitlyn Collins' claims, pointing out the glaring hypocrisy in her argument. He brought up CNN's coverage of Kamala Harris's rally, where the token conservative, Scott Jennings, was hopelessly outnumbered. Maher humorously dubbed him Lonely Scott, highlighting how the panel felt like a one-sided debate, with the conservative armed with nothing but a squirt gun, while the liberals had flamethrowers. The imbalance was undeniable. Maher drew a comparison to The View, where the lone conservative is just there to make the liberals look even more righteous. It's a setup where the conservative barely gets a word in before being interrupted. Caitlyn's defense of such an arrangement quickly unraveled under Maher's sharp scrutiny, and the hypocrisy was laid bare for all to see.
You could say it's better to have nobody there than also lament the fact that you don't think the conservative guy, Scott Jennings, who is great, and we have him on my show all the time, spoke up early enough. I think it was a Democratic convention. They turned to Democrats, people like David Axelrod, who ran successful presidential Democratic campaigns first, for their analysis of this. And I don't think that you can say that CNN is anything but fair. I mean, look at that. We covered President Biden's exit from the race very closely, the pressure on him to get out.
After Bill Maher's brutal takedown of CNN's bias, Caitlyn Collins tried to fight back, but her attempts barely left a mark. First, she claimed that Scott Jennings, the conservative panelist, actually had more time to speak than the others. Sure, because what's more balanced than letting one lone conservative get interrupted and side-eyed by four liberals eager to pounce? It's like handing someone a megaphone during a fire drill. Technically louder, but nobody's really paying attention. Then Caitlyn launched her big argument that since it was a Democrat rally, it only made sense for more Democrats and liberals to speak. Seriously, Caitlyn? That's your defense? That's like hosting a vegan potluck and blaming the one carnivore for complaining about the lack of steak. The whole point of balance in media is to offer differing viewpoints that challenge the echo chamber, not just reinforce it. A balanced panel isn't some old-fashioned ideal. It's vital for meaningful discourse. Without it, all you get is one-sided cheerleading and a lot of confirmation bias. Caitlyn's attempts to defend CNN's approach didn't just fall flat. They showed
for him.
I'm from Alabama. I'm from a very red state. I have a very conservative family, a lot of them who are Trump voters. They watch my show every night, and I think they know that they can trust me, that, you know, we call bullshit on every side, not just whatever leaning our audience may be, and I think that's something that people actually want more.
Caitlyn Collins really tried to spin her logic, claiming that CNN's bias is somehow justified because her conservative family watches her show. Really, Caitlyn? That's the defense you're going with? Newsflash. Your family isn't tuning into CNN because they think it's impartial. They're probably just supporting you, even if they have to grit their teeth through every segment. Let's not kid ourselves into thinking they're watching, because CNN is their trusted source of fair news. Let's be honest, your family is a tiny fraction of CNN's viewership. The fact that they watch despite feeling uncomfortable doesn't prove CNN's balance. It just shows they're nice enough to tolerate it. Caitlyn acting like this one personal example tips the scales in CNN's favor is as absurd as claiming one sunny day makes up for an entire season of storms. Sorry, Caitlyn, but your personal story doesn't hold weight here.
Everyone who was speaking last night, it's not like they were all Democrats. I mean, we had Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Abby Phillip, all my amazing colleagues.
They come across
giving
that way.
Analysis.
They come across that way. In a moment like that, it was like
Bill Maher didn't hold back, pointing out that the panel on CNN's show was a lopsided 5-to-1 mix. 5 liberals to 1 lone conservative who probably needed a stress ball just to make it through. And Caitlin Collins is out here defending this setup? At this point, it's hard not to wonder if Caitlin has some sort of special filter that blocks out CNN's obvious left-leaning bias. It's right in front of her, like arguing that the ocean isn't wet. Take CNN's coverage of the 2020 election, for example. The media couldn't get enough of Trump's every mistake, scandal, or awkward moment, while his policies barely got a mention. Meanwhile, Biden's flaws were conveniently swept under the rug like a forgotten mess. And Hunter Biden? The media barely acknowledged his issues, and when they did, they downplayed them with the enthusiasm of a bored substitute teacher. The double standard was so glaring it could have been the headline itself, if anyone had the guts to print it. Bill Maher didn't shy away from calling out this blatant hypocrisy on the left.
I read the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
In the end, Caitlin Collins' attempt to defend CNN's supposed impartiality fell apart faster than a house of cards. From claiming one conservative on a 5-to-1 panel was balanced, to suggesting her conservative family's support somehow justified CNN's bias, her arguments were weak and easily torn apart. And let's not forget the glaring double standards during the 2020 election. Trump's every misstep was magnified, while Biden's flaws and Hunter's laptop were swept under the rug like dirty secrets. As always, Bill Maher didn't miss a beat, calling out CNN's hypocrisy, comparing it to The View, and ripping Caitlin's defenses to shreds with his signature sharp wit and brutal honesty. This exchange only reinforced that media bias is alive and well, and defending it is a losing battle, even for Caitlin. Maher made that crystal clear. And if this heated exchange sparked a laugh or fired you up, well, mission accomplished. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content.